Welcome back, Coach Flo's Chalk Talk. Thanks for joining us again on this Saturday afternoon as we now embark on the fifth week of our series of talks regarding um, some facets of some sort of organization within football. Today we're going to break off a little bit and we're going to talk to you a little bit more about, team organization, team building, um, those types of things. We're going to break away from the X's and O's. We talked a little bit about offense for a couple of weeks. We talked a little bit about special teams for a couple of weeks. Today we're going to talk to you a little bit about core leadership and the winner's circle. A couple things that we've used over the years. I used them primarily at William Patterson. We did use the winner's circle at Iona College. I didn't specifically have a major say in it. I was more just an assistant at the time. But when I was at William Patterson, we used both of these. It was a great way to get the guys involved, the players involved in the program, to build a program. You could do it in any program. You could do it in a high school program. You could do it within an athletics department. I did it last year in the summertime working with the lifeguards for the town of Brookhaven. You can do it however you want. You just got to change the criteria according to what you're doing. So, if you're doing it with like a lifeguard group, you want to try and build team unity, and then you're not talking about weight room warrior. You're talking about swimming. You're talking about running. A lot of the other stuff. You're not talking about maybe a GPA. You're not talking about community service. You put other things in there. So once again, as I should start all my videos, my name is Jerry Flora. We're doing these videos as an effort to try and help people out a little bit more and get, I'm throwing a lot of stuff at you. We're not very bland in our videos. We give you a lot of information and hopefully you get as much as you can out of it. Today's video is going to be relatively short compared to our other videos. It's going to be closer to 20 minutes. Please subscribe to the channel, like it, and then hit the bell for future videos. We're pretty much on a once a week type of situation for videos right now. Each week doing a different topic. Like I said, this week has nothing to do with X's and O's. It's more team organization, team building. Next week we'll get back into other things. If there's topics you want to hear about, please drop a note down in the comment and we'll try and get that to you. So what we're starting with today is we have core leadership. SP only means spring only. You want to do it primarily out of season. It's something to build this team. So the season's ended. You finished 3-7, 4-6, 10-0, whatever the case is. They go into winter break or in college, or maybe in high school you go into finals. Maybe they go to another season, and then you come back after the new year, and now you want to try and build as a team. You want to build from scratch. They always say that winning championships happens in January, February, March, and April, not necessarily in June, July, August, September, and so on and so forth. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to figure out who your leaders are going to be, who your captains may be, so on and so forth. You may know, but you may not be sure. So step one here is you're going to split the team up based on numbers. So we're talking merely about core leadership right now. So, on a football roster, let's say we had 100 at William Patterson. We usually split the team up into 8 teams. We put roughly about 10 or so guys on each team, and we did a full-on draft, which we'll talk about in a second. Basically, the number of teams was based on how many leaders you thought you had. So if we thought we had a big senior class coming back, and we thought we may have a lot of guys that could potentially be leaders that could be captains, we would have maybe 8 teams that would give us maybe 8 captains and maybe 8 assistant captains. So you'd have basically 2 leaders per team. So you'd start with your 16 and then mill down. If you thought you only had 4 guys, you'd have 4 teams. It's based on that. It gives other guys an opportunity to lead. It's not always about the best players or the All-Americans. Sometimes it could be the high GPA guys. Sometimes it could be the community service guys. Sometimes it could be the no discipline issues guys. So it's kind of based on kind of what you think it is. So that's what you want to do. Split the team up based on numbers. What you do is is you as the head coach, you make that determination during winter break. So you make a determination, this is how many guys I think I'm going to have in the spring, whether it's they're just doing football only, if it's college, if it's high school, if they're playing other sports, but they're still involved. Okay, this is how many teams I'm going to have. Anywhere from 4 to 8 teams. 4 would be the least amount you want to have, and you could have as many 8. If you have numbers of 120, 130, 140, you may go to 10. But 10, I would cap it at 10. You know, because a lot of it, you still want to have the right amount of numbers, because you're not going to have the whole team at the same time together unless you're at winter workouts or early morning workouts. So when you do competitions in the weight room per se, you want to make sure you got a good solid numbers of guys. So you have your 4 to 8 teams. You're going to select leaders that may qualify for captains. So after you as the head coach decide how many teams you're going to have, you may have already done this in the fall. I know for me personally, I would meet when the season ended. I gave every player on the team 15-minute time slot to have an end of the year meeting. We called it an exit meeting, and they got 15 minutes. They filled out like a little form for me ahead of time. You know, just in terms of who they thought would be captains for next year. You know, how they thought the season went. You know, what things we could do better, what things they can do better, and they filled that out prior. They came in and met with me for 15 minutes. I blocked off the whole team. I gave the seniors an opportunity to do that as well. So the seniors going out, and then I met with the coaches. So you meet with everybody within the program so that you get a feeling, you give them an opportunity to speak, you write down all this information, and then you spend your winter break while they're on vacation or on break, you spend your winter break compiling all this information to prepare for the spring. And then that's what helps you get ready to determine your teams and your captains and so on and so forth. So at that point, you know, the team may have decided that the top 12 guys for leaders are these guys. Okay? So if those are the top 12 guys, then when they come back from the break or whatever, you have a meeting with them, maybe get some pizza, if not, get some snacks, and you sit and you talk to them a little bit about leadership. Some of them may have been leaders for you already. Some of them may potentially be new leaders. So now you sit and talk to them about what leadership is, you know, how to lead. It's not necessarily about yelling and screaming and cursing and using profane language. It's about, you know, being at the forefront, whether it's lead by example, whether it's lead by academics, whether it's lead by discipline, all those types of things. Then you want to conduct the full team draft. So after they've had this meeting and you give them a copy of the roster of the people that are coming back for the season, you give them a couple of days to take a look and see who they would want. And you'd be crazy to see. First couple of years we did just a draft with just the leaders in a room and they drafted. Then as the years went on, we got the whole team involved. It's best to do it in front of the whole squad. Why? Because I put here, it's best because players see what they are worth. You know, we've had traditionally, you know, sometimes we got the guy that's, you know, preseason All-American. He may be the worst in the classroom. He may be getting into trouble constantly. So he may not necessarily be a top-end guy because when you figure out the core leadership, you got to fall within these categories. So you got to figure out a guy that's going to finish in the top 70% for core points. You got to see a guy that's a 2.75 or better guy. You got to take a look at a guy that's going to volunteer for community service during the course of the semester. Then there's the guy that doesn't get into problems. He doesn't have issues. He doesn't show up late. He doesn't miss stuff. He's not getting into trouble on campus or at the school or the university. He's in the top 80% in weight room. He's a weight room warrior. And then you take into factor the all conference accolades and stuff like that, and then they must all qualify for all of these. Because ultimately these winner circle guys, these core leadership guys, become winner circle guys. And that's what you're trying to develop. My first year in '08, we had 13 guys out of 100 make the winner circle. Not very good. My next year, which we went 5-5, and we were postseason eligible for the third time in 4 years, which at William Patterson you'd have to go back probably 15 years before that happened. We were up to 32. So in a year, we went from 13 to 32. 12, 13, went from 13 to 32. So they're progressively built to the point where you want more than half your roster in the winner's circle. Because if more than half your roster is in the winner's circle, that means they're making the core points, they're getting the GPA, they're doing the community service, they're not getting into trouble, and they're killing it in the weight room. And if they're doing those things, then they become the total student athlete, which is what you want. Yeah, you want to win championships. Don't get me wrong. But you want to build these young men into adults that they go out in the real world and they prosper. So now, when you do it in front of the whole squad, the way it works is you put the 7 or 8 captains in the front, just like it was like a normal draft, like the NBA or the NFL. You know, we sometimes put a back screen up there. We got, a lot of times we got the jerseys, our new jerseys that had number 1, you know, or maybe we would get jerseys 1 through 9, because those are the single digits. And, you know, when a guy came up and you say, okay, with the first pick, you know, team captain A gets to pick who? And he knew ahead of time, and the guy would come up, put the jersey on, maybe take a picture, maybe videotape it. Make a big deal of it. Make those top, okay, we're going to go round 1, we're going to go round 2, we're going to go round 3. You know, just like an NFL draft or an NBA draft or any draft like that. You know, guys get into it. Get some snacks, get some pizza, get some drinks, make it a big thing. And what happens is guys really see where they fall in pecking order. Some guys don't care. You know, some guys are just kind of fine with where they are. And that's mediocrity. And mediocrity is only going to get you so much. And I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's football. I don't care if it's basketball. I don't care if it's hockey. I don't care if it's soccer. I don't care if it's administration. I don't care if it's because you're running a district or you're an AD. Doesn't matter. Mediocrity is not good. We all strive to be the best we can be. So you've got to raise the bar. So, you know, what ends up happening a lot of times is they do this draft, and, you know, there's 7 or 8 guys that get picked early on that you're like, oh my God. And then there's 6 or 7 or 8 guys that get picked at the end, and you're like, wow, I've never seen that. You know, and I give you a good example. Lou Porchiazzo, who played for me in 2008, he was also on 2017 when Coach Mielo was the head coach. You know, Lou was a captain for us his senior year in 2008. Lou didn't play a lot. He was a 3rd string offensive lineman. But Lou was all of these things. Everything. He was probably in the 100th percentile. He was a dean's list. He did community service. Never got in trouble, and he was in the 100th percentile. And guys like that you want on your team because those guys ultimately get you points and you win. And, you know, let's call a spade a spade. So Lou did all those things, and Lou is now working at the University of Michigan. Lou is now works the Olympic training program for the University of Michigan athletes. He's been there for a number of years. He's been up for a number of other jobs, whether it's Maryland or whether it's Northwestern, and he's well respected in the Big Ten. And there's a young man that played in the program at William Patterson, and he was not the star player, and he accepted his role. He was a captain for us, and he is a prime example of what a player from our program has graduated and become. So that's just a great example. So you have the draft, you go through it. Teams compete weekly. You have certain criteria. You have weekly winners and semester winners. So or a yearly winner, or quarter winner. In high school you have 2 quarters, you have a 3rd quarter, 4th quarter. You may have a 3rd quarter winner just to kind of spike a little interest for the 4th quarter. In college there's semesters, there's trimesters. You have a semester winner, maybe you have a trimester winner, whatever. You have weekly winners. You know, weekly winners, what we would do is, you know, if we had each week, you know, the winning team, you know, they may get pizza, or, you know, they may get, you know, free time somewhere along the way, or they may get bonus points, or they may get an extra community service event, or, you know, we may tally up the points, and that would help them at the end of the semester kind of get the number of their choice, whatever the case was. So that's what that's what they did for weekly and semester winners. And, you know, you had to have a certain criteria. So for football, you know, I have the sheet. I could share it with you. I don't have it here. I could email it to you. Typically, the amount of points you could earn was always greater than the amount of points you can lose. So there were more options, whether it was go to class, whether it was B on your paper, whether it was A on your paper, whether it was community service, whether it was whether it was go to an event on campus, whatever the case was. So there may only be 5 or 6 things at the bottom for when you lose points, but it was always double. So maybe if you got a B on a paper and that got you 2 points, well, if you got an F on a paper, you may lose 4 points. So it all worked out. So there was a whole criteria of points. It was a lot of work, but it was well worth it. And at the end of the week, you had points. And the players were determined based on points. And then you total up all the points, and then you determine who the winners were. And then the points carried on through the week. The goal of this whole thing was to get to the winner's circle. You were trying to get to the winner's circle, must qualify for everything. There's no exceptions. So our winner's circle was you had to make points, the core points, you had to be in the top 70% points. So at the end of the semester, we took a look at all the points in the team, we added them all up, we got a total, we divided them by the number of guys on the spring roster, we took the number 70% and that was the cutoff. So if you were above 70%, you qualified for number 1. No questions. You couldn't come in and say, well, coach, can I do this? Can I do that? The players knew that the time ended and that was it. Usually right after finals. Number 2 is you had a 2.75 GPA or higher for the semester. So we usually didn't find out about that until the grades came out. 2.74, no good. 2.75, you're right on. Community service, we usually gave the players a couple of options for community service. You had to do 2, not 1. And then if you did 3, 4, 5, 6, it got you bonus points. No issues discipline-wise. Can't get in trouble. Can't be late. Can't get written up. Can't get detention. Once you do one of those things, that eliminates you. And you had to be a weight room warrior. You had to be in the top 80% in the bench, the squat, and the clean by position and by weight. So we had the offensive line. So we took the bench, let's say that whatever your max out week was, and we figured out what was 80%. And if you were above 80%, based on position, you got points. You qualified for this. So this was done at the end of the semester when you tested. So top 80%, bench, squat, and clean by position and body weight. So in other words, like a guy could qualify for position but not body weight. A guy could qualify for body weight but not position. And then the guy that qualified for both, we gave him bonus points. So that gave him bonus points. Okay, and the bonus points went back up here. So this was the only way you can make that set. So you may be in the 68th percentile and you got bonus points because you did both, and this bumped you to the 71st, and now you qualified for that. So you had all these 5 things and you had to qualify in order to make the winner's circle. And the winner's circle guys typically were honored at training camp the next year. During training camp, we'd have a night. We'd call them up one at a time. We would tell everybody in front of the team what they did. So it was common knowledge. So there was no gray area. It was why I didn't know he got this, and so on and so forth. Summer classes didn't count. So if you got a 2.74, you were going to summer, it didn't count. Once the semester ended, the semester ended. And we gave out some prizes. We gave out some awards, whether it was certificates, plaques. We gave out old helmets, rejected helmets that may have been rejected, that were being thrown away. Whatever it was, we gave out something. We made it a big deal, and guys made the winner's circle. We did stuff through Nike. We did book bags, so on and so forth. And this is all team building right here. This is a great example of stepping outside your box, doing something a little bit different. You got the core leadership program, which is an off-season program only, spring only. And this is how you did you picked the teams and so on and so forth. You want to get a little bit more elaborate, you took each coach and put each coach in front of a team. So one of the things we used to do is we wanted to get the coaches involved. We would have the coaches pick a team, or the team leaders would pick so you'd have a coach now be responsible for a team. So he'd head up the linebackers, like Chuck Faulkner was our captain. Hey Chuck, how's your team doing this week? And then at the end of the semester, at the end of the week, when we got a pizza party for the team, the coach was involved. And it was a way to get everybody involved and everyone in a central purpose to be in the winner's circle. The goal was to have at least 80% of your team in the winner's circle. And if you were in the 80th percentile, then that was a pretty good indicator as to where your season was going to be the next year. And the 2 years we finished, or the 2 years we finished 5-5, both of those springs before, we were in the 80th percentile. A couple of years we finished 4 and 6, we were right around 80%, and then the years that we were below. It was a pretty good indicator. So just something a little bit different. Hopefully you get something out of this. If you have any questions or problems, like I said, just hit in the comment section. Short video today. Trying to keep it to 20 minutes. Hopefully you got something out of this. Thanks for joining me. Look forward to seeing you next week. Coach Flora, over and out. Take care. Bye-bye.